I'm Jeff Safai. I'm here with Kevin Molnaric, and we're really excited today. We got one of our good friends from Idaho, Mariah Gates. Mariah is an agent, a farmer's agent, very successful one, who we met at the Insurance Growth Conference back in September of last year.
Yeah, I think September.
And Mariah was actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, didn't she do a breakout session right by you?
Yeah.
And I actually left your breakout session for a little bit to go check on hers. Sorry about that. And it was really intriguing what she had going on. And her big thing to me is the automation. It kind of blows me away. I've been told you're the queen of automation by other agents as well. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That title is so much fun. Let me tell you. Yeah.
I didn't talk to you about that. And
that happened at some point.
Thanks for joining the podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and to talk to you guys. So podcasting, man, it's like the fourth one I've done so far. It's still kind of new, but it's always fun and exciting. So I'm excited to do this one and chat with you guys.
Cool. Well, being your fourth one, you got a few under your belt, so you'll be the superstar today.
Just one more than your channel, right? I don't think that puts superstar, but it's they're really fun. I like the free open forums. So that's really nice too. But I'm excited that you guys are doing just more than automation or more than insurance, because there's a lot of insurance podcasts out there. So it's nice to mix it up.
Yeah, really, and we talked about the name a lot, and we knew that we wanted to incorporate insurance. That's what we love. That's what we're in. That's what most of our guests will be in, not all of them, but we definitely wanted to include other things that can help agency owners. And so just as an entrepreneur and anything, we've got a lot of cool shows coming that aren't agents, but
we're going to tie it into insurance.
Yeah,
too.
for sure. It'll be tied in, but really exciting. And then that way, these podcasts too, like you just get to go a little bit deeper and get to know somebody rather than just like, how many policies do you sell and how do you sell that many? Just get people to know a little bit more about you and your background. So that's fun. And we get to learn in the meantime, which is, selfish of us, but that's
so that's a good starting point for
cool.
Mariah, because I want to know more about your past. I think we talked a little bit, but Mariah, tell us how you got into insurance and where it all started.
Well, when I was, 5 years old, I always wanted to be an insurance agent. I couldn't wait. It's like very glamorous job. I'm kidding. I didn't want to do that, but I got recruited.
It's so funny. Yeah. Cause Jeremy Olsen, he literally goes, I'm probably exaggerating. I think it's 2, but I was probably 4.
Yeah.
Dead. I mean, Jeremy, dead serious. Like, yeah, he was 4.
That's funny. Well, I was joking, but I'm glad that he knew so early on. No, I wanted to be a doctor when I was a kid, but I grew up and got into medicine and quickly realized it was not for me. So I got into banking. I was recruited into banking with Wells Fargo 16 years ago and was there for a couple of years. I went to Chase Bank. That's where I was at when I got recruited into insurance. I was a branch manager for them, did some commercial banking. So I've been in the finance industry, my entire career in one fashion or another, and got recruited by a farmer's district manager in Olympia, Washington. I was really just not enjoying the kind of thankless corporate environment. I had 2 little kids at home. I worked all the time. And my solution to that was becoming self-employed. That was the biggest joke ever. Like, I'll have more time on my hands. It was so stupid. But I do enjoy the flexibility, right? I don't have to miss my kids' games and get to take them to all the activities. And, so that's been a huge blessing. But got recruited into insurance. I started scratch, which they call it that because you literally are scratching for every single dollar that you make in the beginning. I did really well with that in my first 2 years. So I was seated a book in the Kelso area, Kelso, Washington, ran that agency for 2 years, hits, achievement clubs and all sorts of fun stuff. And then I sold that agency because we moved our family to Idaho, just for a better fit for us, just in general, and less rain, which is really nice as well. And I took over an agency here. So that's kind of the Cliff Notes version. Did the first 5 years of being an agent with maybe 1 employee, sometimes 2 for very short periods of time. And Then when I started working with automation, learned very quickly that I wanted to be a business owner and not a sales rep that happened to write checks for a business. And so that's when I started looking for ways to replace myself in the day-to-day operations. So
Wow.
the agency role in my mind has really evolved.
Yeah. So starting scratch, I did that too. We actually opened up 5 Scratch, and it was scratching, scratching, and scratching. How was that beginning? Like what made you think you're in banking, which ironically, Jeremy went to banking too. Maybe
We got a
there's a
trend going.
common theme
Yeah.
here. But what was the, besides an entrepreneur, because you could have opened other things, but why insurance? Or was it some insurance you had at the bank too?
Yeah, so I actually never wanted to be a business owner. I was a commercial business banker for Chase and did lending and, worked with business owners and such. And when we would have our training that we'd all get together, and they would have corporate training and they always did an icebreaker. And we had to say, if we were going to be a business owner, what kind of business would we own? And I kid you not, every single time said, I will never own a business. Those people are crazy. I will not do that. And I have no problem saying that today because I've learned in my, short 35 years that you just never know where life is going to take you. And I stopped saying never a long time ago because right as of today, I own 2 businesses and I'm definitely crazy. So I, never thought I'd be that person, but I've turned into that person and I absolutely love it. Creating jobs and creating work environments that allow flexible work-life balance environments is my favorite thing to do. If you see me on Facebook at all, every first of the month when I process payroll, I celebrate it. I share how much I've paid in payroll, how many people we have on our team, how grateful I am that I get to pay payroll out to these people who've worked so hard to take care of our customers and work in my businesses. So I'm so grateful that never, didn't come true and I became a business owner. But as far as getting recruited out of banking, I was in an environment where the company was, it's kind of actually ironic now that I think about it, but Chase was coming out with a lot of automation, a lot of technology that was really honestly designed to replace employees. And they were doing it through natural attrition, which was good for morale. But we had some attrition at my branch that I ran, and we were kind of told to wait on the technology so that we didn't, I didn't have to put in so many hours. Well, I had a little 2 and 3-year-old at home, my son and daughter, and I wasn't going to wait. I wasn't going to work 6 days a week, 60 plus hours every single week when my kids were growing up faster than I could even keep up with. And so I started looking for different options, putting my resume out. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I'd been in sales and management and leadership most of my career. So I got recruited and took about 6 months for me to decide to do it because, of course, I was quitting my very comfortable job and going to be self-employed with no money, with 2 babies at home and a mortgage and a couple car payments. And it was terrifying. My husband works, but we were about 50-50 income at that time. So we were cutting out half of our income. And it was really scary. And there was times where I remember trying to think, some people open an agency and they come with a big nest egg or a big chunk of money from something. I didn't have that. So, there was times where I was like, do I buy like formula or do I get groceries or, do we pay the electric bill late? We had those decisions. It was very scratch. It was very difficult in the first several years before we really made a profit and I learned the industry. But I'm extremely stubborn and I wasn't going to give up. And my husband completely supported me. He was like, worst case scenario, we file bankruptcy and we'll start over. Life goes on. And he just had this immense faith in me to make it work and push through it. And that came with like a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure to like succeed, but I'm grateful for it because it pushed me past a lot of times where I wanted to quit and just kept going. And it's turned out to be great.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of meeting your husband at a workshop too. And that's, if I could pin him for that, he just seemed like he was so supportive and on the team 100%. Kevin, it reminds me of like your story too. Like you were at a point where you had a good job, a really good job, and you just sacrificed everything and went for it right when, Jen was pregnant with the kids too.
Yeah. I mean, kind of similar, when so I had my son, and then that year I decided like I've got to get out of this current industry and decide what I want to do. And yeah, me and my wife, we opened up an insurance agency. It was just the two of us. And yeah, it's you put everything on the line, all of it. And again, the common thread and the theme is the top agents that we hear is you still invest back in, and some days there weren't as much money as you'd like to have in your bank account for sure, but you know that the investment pays off over time and determination for sure. But that's it's great.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was terrifying, but man, if you want to learn, like if you want to have some real strong, quick personal growth, start a business.
Right. Yeah.
And then when did you start feeling the momentum? What year?
Yeah. So, I mean, in my second year, I kind of felt like I knew what was going on. I hired my first employee, and then there was an agency that came up that they actually seeded me into, which means I was able to take over the agency. I had some production requirements to hit to be able to fully own it, but I was able to hit those pretty quickly. Hired some more staff, and really enjoyed that agency. It was not close to where I lived, so the commute was kind of a bummer. And I just kind of figured that's what I would always do, is I would have that agency and, grow it and hand it off to my kids one day if they wanted it and stuff. But I've learned over the years that my husband and I are very comfortable with change. And Washington, where we lived, just wasn't a good environment for us to raise our kids in anymore. And we're both pretty active outside. And so we also didn't enjoy the rain in Western Washington. It rains a lot there. And we decided that Idaho was a better fit for us. So we put actually, I had just sold the agency. I had sold the agency to go work at Allstate for as a financial advisor. Worst decision I ever made. It was not a good fit for me. The person I went to work under and kind of be mentored with, oh my gosh, it was such a disaster. Yeah. And I can't deal with things that have like
a rep coming on after. So no, I'm just kidding.
Perfect. I work with Allstate agents today. I have nothing against Allstate agents. The person I was working with was horrible. So anyways, bad experience, left there. We were kind of in between things, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And it was just really, it was really easy to just pick up and go at that time. My husband, the first job he interviewed for here, he got the job. I had called the district and said, hey, I think I'm coming that way. Do you have a farmer's agency coming available? And 2 weeks later, I got a call that they had an agency. My husband got the job. And after his job offer, we were here 2 weeks later. So it was kind of a whirlwind. Yeah. But and then took over this agency, and it was bleeding premium and bleeding customers, and the agent hadn't been doing anything with it for a very long time, and no licensed staff, lots of, oh man, it was a mess. So we had to clean it up for probably the first year. That release came, like the where I was able to breathe a little bit, came when I was given the agency in Kelso. But I say a little bit because I made more money with the agency, but I didn't take home any more money because we put it into staff, just like you said, we're trying to grow it as much as we could. So I don't know. I don't think that I really felt like comfortable in the agency until probably about 3 or 4 years ago, because right when I started using Agency Zoom, I had invested in a program called Fully Covered, and I learned a lot through that program. And coming off of that, I started using Agency Zoom, and I hired staff to replace me. So I stopped doing customer service. I stopped doing sales. It hurt our numbers for a couple of months because I've been doing sales for so long, but I was determined to be a business owner and not a producer in my agency. And I've lost staff and hired staff since then over the last 3-4 years, but I refuse to step back into that role because it makes it harder for me to actually do what's right for the business.
So smart. Yeah. I mean, too many agents, I think they work in their business and they don't work on their business, and they don't, kind of almost get their head above water to be able to see what's happening. And if you really want to grow your business, I mean, you have to replace yourself. So,
and
super
see your
smart.
kids have fun, go to the rodeos, go camping, right?
I have not been to a rodeo since I moved to Idaho.
You haven't?
I don't know why. I just haven't.
I guess that would be my next question is like, I work with so many new agents, and, they ask a lot of questions about how do I get to that next level? And of course it involves hard work, and, you work smarter, not harder, but at the same time, you got to bust your butt and stay late. But at what year did you feel like you were able to, all right, I got a family. Now I'm at a point where, I don't have to have as many late nights and I can spend more time with the family. I'm more comfortable in the office and I can do more vacations.
Yeah, I'd probably say the third year. The third year is where I felt like I kind of got this. I know what I'm doing. I had good staff at the time, and everything that was able to help. And honestly, I think that time, like when you feel that release, it comes at a different point for everyone because we all have different lifestyles. We all have different income goals. And whether or not you can hire good staff, I mean, I have a peer who's been an agent just maybe about a year longer than I have. And it took him many more years to feel that sigh of relief because he just had an extremely difficult time finding really good staff to be able to step in and do some of the work that he had to do every day. And some of these agencies I get to talk to now, sometimes the difference is the staff. It's not always, some of it's very situational, but yeah, once I had good staff and I was about my third year, I didn't feel like I was drinking from a fire hose and learning new things every single day. That was nice.
I mean, we were really talking about that. I don't think you were here yet today, earlier. And every great agency I mean, there's no one agent that's amazing that everybody knows about that they're doing all on their own. And it's like you say, like, as soon as you have great staff is when you start to feel the freedom. And it's all built on trust. I trust my staff. I've got great staff. Now I have the opportunity to do what I want to do, whether it is another business or stay home or, go to the kids' games. But it's almost like playing baseball without a baseball, football without a football, basketball without a basketball. Like, I mean, if you don't have great staff, it's so hard. It's nearly impossible. So what are some things that you've done in order to find, or is it, even just keeping great staff?
Yeah, that has ebbed and flowed over the years. I wish I could say that I have a wonderful formula that finds amazing staff, but I don't. Like it's so hard. I have hired staff that have come, to me with absolutely no insurance background, like probably one of the best hires I ever had. She was working in home health care and she still works for me today, but she wanted to be in a more professional environment. She started part-time calling leads and then working calling on renewals for me when I just had a tiny agency. And when I say part-time, she was working like 10 hours a week, but we had a really great rapport, very similar types of personality, and we just really enjoyed working together. And she was when I sold the agency in Washington, she worked for a different agent for a short period of time and then came back and worked remote for me in my Idaho agency and still does. And then I've hired people who have insurance backgrounds. I hired someone recently who had several years in insurance sales and came to the team and lasted like 2 weeks in our agency. One of the things I think that really gets misconstrued or that people don't think too much about is some of these agencies that have a lot of staff or they're putting up big numbers. I always am curious to what kind of business they're writing, what kind of discussions they're having with people. I've never wanted to be the agent that is 1-800-CHEAP insurance and we'll give you whatever you ask for, no questions asked. It doesn't matter what your coverages are. It's just the cheapest policy that because everyone says they want the cheapest insurance.
Right.
We've never wanted to be that agency. We've always done it through education and, ethics and having discussions around assets and liability and bringing that person on who had all that experience. The issues were ethics, not caring, just trying to put up numbers. And that's not the kind of business I want to run. I know there are agents out there who do that and they make a lot of money, but that doesn't sit well with me. So staff has been interesting. I almost think now after hiring, having so many staff over the last 10 years, I prefer people that haven't worked in the industry, almost come with less bad habits. I guess I can train them up from the beginning, the way that we want to do business and help instill those good practices. So I really haven't had one good source. I have, used, obviously I've used Ideal Traits. That's really helpful. That gives us great insight. We've posted ads through Indeed. I've been to hiring classes. I've read books on it. I've, recruited within my own networks. I've recruited outside. We hired a staffing agency to help us find team members. I feel like we've tried a little bit of everything. And sometimes you find great people in any of those avenues, and sometimes you don't. It's just it's repetition. You have to keep doing it. Some of the agents I know that are the largest and most successful agents, they never stop recruiting, right? They interview a couple people a week. It's constant. And that's how they keep their agencies moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, we've always been big on preaching, just always be hiring. Because you never know. Somebody might be moving and somebody might decide now that they're gonna, that they just want to work remote and their office doesn't have remote options available. So more now than ever after COVID has really made it, you have to have a great value proposition. And if not, somebody in your team might be looking. And it's even more hurtful on smaller teams. I mean, if you got 3 people and if you got one that leaves, like that can be really detrimental for sure.
So Mariah is another great example. Because I pop in her account sometimes with Ideal Traits. She's looking remote, and think about that pool of candidates. And also, as she said, she's not just looking for licensed candidates. So it's another bigger pool of candidates. And you're in Idaho, right? So you're not in the easiest area to recruit. So the fact that you're going all over the place, obviously it's still not going to be easy for you, but how big of an advantage does Mariah have versus agents in really tough areas that only want licensed people, and they're, they got a really small population, and, those licensed candidates might not be the best candidates. Who knows? Yeah. So when did you make the switch to just do remote?
In March just of this year. So we're 5 months in to remote. I'll tell you guys, it's difficult. Having staff in office is easier. We made the decision really because it was so difficult to hire local. So I am in Idaho, I'm in the Boise area. Our entire state has like 2 million people in it. So it's a small state. We just, I would put growing. It is growing, but I would put a job posting up, same exact job posting, local, in office. We would get, 20 applications maybe, and most of them were kind of not great. And then put the same posting up remote, 800 applications. I couldn't believe the difference, insane difference. So we were like, well, this is kind of where the talent is. So we're going to go this direction. We've put some different software in place for monitoring. We had one employee who was stealing time. So basically just, not doing anything throughout the day and making a lot of excuses. Because we do have a lot of automation and a lot of monitoring systems, we were able to catch it really early. But this person had an amazing background. In the interview, I actually said to him, you're really overqualified for this job. I'm kind of curious as to why you want to get into the industry. Well, he wanted to be an agency owner, but man, if he does, he's got a long ways to go. But it's really hard. And then we have other people who, we've brought on, we have 2 right now in particular who are remote on the sales side, who are doing a really good job. They're still fairly new, but their trajectory is awesome. So we're really excited about them. But I have 3 people since March that I've brought on and let go in remote positions. Customer service wise, remote hasn't been an issue. Great customer service rep. And our customer service rep has actually been remote for a long time. So we haven't had an issue there, but it's the sales, because I think those are harder. You have to have a lot of motivation, a lot of excitement. There's ups and downs in sales. Some days you're on top of the world. Other days you just can't believe you still are doing this job and you just want to cry. We've all been there if you're working in sales. So I think without having kind of that camaraderie in the office, it is really difficult. So we haven't perfected it yet. We're still learning. We're still, trying to iron out the kinks, but it's a challenge. But I do think that if you aren't open to it in some fashion, you're going to have a hard time recruiting long-term, even if it's a hybrid where they're in office for a couple of days and work from home a couple of days. I think that would be even a great option. But when I hired my automation business, remote work, it's so easy. Remote is so easy to hire for.
So you're saying it is hard.
Harder to manage.
Right. It is hard, but you're also saying consider it and open your eyes to it for those agents that like really are maybe not scared, but like really don't want to do that. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're just limiting yourself, and you can find great people local. You can find great people remote. People are still people, right? And most of it boils down to how you manage people, expectations you set, how you hold them accountable, the culture that you create. If you don't have that, it doesn't matter how great of an applicant or how great the staff member is. If you don't have a good culture and a good way for them to like do their business, good processes and systems and training, then they're not going to succeed anyways. So make sure you're set up for that. Make sure it's easy for people to train and work for you and know what to expect. Because my generation and younger, man, we're difficult.
So what are some of the tips that you would do that you've learned over this time to keep remote people engaged, and maybe in particular salespeople? I mean, do you do a lot of Zoom meetings with them?
Yeah, so we have a daily team meeting we start with. We check in throughout the day as well. We do have a team chat through our phone provider. We use Ring Central, and there's a chat system. So we're all asking each other, throughout the day if we've hit our goals. We also celebrate that together. We started running some promos just recently for like some extra incentive to kind of get people excited, but it's a challenge. Like I'm not going to say I've perfected it. We're still learning. It's much harder than if you're in office.
But at least you've gotten started now. I mean, there's agents still that are on the fence or maybe not even to the fence yet, and just think that I'm only going to go with what comes in my way and what's in my local area. And they're really missing out on a huge talent pool that's out there, because the talent becomes unlimited. And it's crazy to see the feast and the famine, just as you described. We've heard it 100 times. We have agents that have, even our business, we're hiring for 3 different positions right now. And we have 500 applicants in the last 3 weeks. And then another agent will call in and they're looking for a commercial, certified,
Bilingual.
I mean, we go from
6'5".
we call it going from the ocean to the pond to the pool to like a puddle. They're looking for this. There's nobody in there. And they're like, I don't know why I'm not getting any applicants. It's like, well, it's so obvious,
But it sounded like you kind of like forced yourself to do it. It's not like you really wanted to, Mariah, but you're like, gotta see what's out there. Right.
Yeah. So I didn't want to be restricted to the area. And I had been here, we've been here, March will be 5 years. So I'd been here for 3, hiring local, and had some good success with it. But the people that I had brought on just didn't stay long. The burnout kind of happened pretty quickly for those individuals. And so we actually went to a class down in Dallas, myself, my office manager, and my husband. We all went. You got to, we were down there learning about hiring top talent, and just a different spin on it, a different way to think about bringing in, top talent, a longer interview process. I will tell you, like when I first,
Is it the same one I saw you at? Was it?
Yeah. Vlad's, yeah.
Yeah.
Vlad's workshop. But when I was starting, I've heard this from agents, it was, you would talk to people and like, you want to work in insurance? Like, oh yeah, I might want to do that. And it's like, great, come work for me. There was no interview process. It's like, can you pass the test? You can? Cool. Come on and try to work in my agency and we'll see how it goes. Like that was my interview process. It was ridiculous. And so getting a lot more structured with it, having, a much better benefit package, clear compensation plans, a culture that we can speak about at the agency, all of those things helped, I think, a lot with the fact that we had so many applicants. And I have so many, we started getting really picky, only if they filled out the assessment through ideal traits, and only if they fit certain criteria, and only if they hadn't, had too much job hopping and different things like that. So we got really specific. And I probably didn't even read 30% of the resumes we got, because I just used the filters and filtered down to exactly what I was looking for. Right. So we still have, probably 1,000 that I haven't even looked at that we can go back in later.
Yeah. And I forgot about this, Mariah. At that workshop, remember Vlad had everyone get out their ideal traits account. We had like 17 agents there, all from different carriers. You had independent, farmers, Allstate,
Farm Bureau.
Farm Bureau. Yeah. Nick was there. And so they didn't have ideal traits. They'd sign up, and then everyone sponsored the ad. So we walked around and showed everyone. Of course, Mariah, she's dialed in. we'll get into her automation business in a sec, but she already knew exactly what she's doing. So she's 6 steps ahead of everybody. So as everyone's about to post their ad, she's already like, oh, I got 10 applicants. We're like, what?
I'm not kidding. We sat there and it was like ping,
100.
ping, 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 ping. I think I got up to 65 or something by the end of the day. Like it was insane.
What did you have overnight?
Plus, I don't remember. I know by the time the class was over and Krista and I sat down at lunch the next day to start going over them, we had over 100. So within less than 24 hours, we had over 100. And then by the time I flew home, we had over 400 applications. It was so fast.
Like, wait, I haven't posted it yet. Whoa. Like, how do I do that?
Well, Nick posted his and he's like, I got 2. Like he was so excited, right? Which great. I'm so glad he got 2. And then I know another gal in there too. I think she had 8 by the time she left. And so it was a great class. I learned a lot. And it works really great through Ideal Traits and through Indeed. It's a good system. It's easy. But then if you do end up getting a lot of applications, because it's funny, people are like, I want more applications. I want more applicants. Yeah. Then you get them. Holy cow. It's a lot of time to like read all these resumes and then decide and schedule interviews. And I mean, don't always what you ask for might not be what you're looking for, right? It's a lot of extra work. So then it came down to where I was like, how do I automate this? How do I have it filter? How do I only talk to the people that I want to talk to? Because I can't read 1,500 resumes. Like this is insane. And so then we started working with the automation and the webhooks and through our CRM and stuff and got it filtered out. And that made it a lot easier to get interviews scheduled using like Calendly automation, Zoom calls. And we did 3 interviews with each person. So we were very meticulous and careful. And even then we had some bad hires. So it's still a process. We had some good ones, but we still had some bad ones too.
Yeah. And why do those webhooks, and it took me a while to understand it because I'm not at that automation level where I speak the same language as you. But why was Zapier and the webhooks important in helping weed out candidates and qualify them?
Yeah. So we put in automation in place where if they so in that class through Zapier, if they applied, then it was sending them just kind of a drip campaign through Zapier, just very simple. That was part of what Vlad had taught in the class. That way, no matter what people had for automation, if they didn't have a CRM, you could still send stuff out. And it would encourage them to finish the assessment if they didn't already. A lot of people just did the assessment from the get-go, but we wanted to get rid of people who, were like researchers or oh my gosh, now I'm trying to think of all the different personality types and ideal traits. Yeah, perfectionist. Yeah, so inconsistent, obviously, that's not good. So we wanted to filter those out very easily. And ideal traits is really easy to use, but has limited kind of like CRM and pipeline type function. So being able to have the data pull from ideal traits through Zapier with the webhook, and then I could filter it in Zapier and only have it send the people that I wanted to into my recruiting pipeline in my CRM, which is Agency Zoom. And then when they would pop in there, it would say like, congratulations, you've made it through basically like the first round, kind of interviews. And it would ask them to schedule a phone appointment. And there was a link for them to schedule it. And so it was very automated. And so we were looking for people who were really interested in the role and very proactive. You need that for sales. So we wanted to provide them the automated communication and then really see them take it to the next step and schedule the interviews. And we had some reminders that would go out in case they missed the first emails. But if they weren't scheduling, proactively scheduling their interviews and that kind of stuff, we weren't really interested in them. And then after the phone interview, we would do a live interview, which was a Zoom call. And myself and my office manager would be on that. And then we would do a final interview after that, which is where we also would make the job offer.
It's interesting how times have, come and gone between in the very beginning when Ideal Traits came out, we would say, don't talk to anybody because let them prove to you that they're interested. If they don't fill out the assessment, don't even worry about it. And it was the right decision at the time. And then all of a sudden it got to, you have to call everybody.
Candidate-driven market versus employer-driven market.
Exactly. And then we would say, well, listen, you have to call them, keep engaged, let them know you're still there. And then now it's either one. So if you're willing to go remote, you can do a lot more automation that way, but they still can need some attention, not just all email. And so, when we started this podcast, we said what we would not do is make it a commercial. That was like really important. But just because it went this direction, I mean,
Mhm.
what we're finding is that people that are going remote are using our candidate engagement program. So they spend $15 and we'll do 3 phone calls, engage right away, and 3 emails and get them going into the system after we interview the agent about what they're really looking for. And then they send them a video interview tool. So they take 5 questions right on their phone. And so now they're getting filtered down to watching. They spend 10 minutes and they have the best candidates and they're watching 5 questions of their interview tool.
So I used that. I used the video. I didn't use the client engagement, but I used the video interviews, and I love that tool. People who on the resume just looked fantastic. I was so excited, and then I got their emails, and I'm like,
Ooh.
oh man, and then there was other ones that were the opposite that totally surprised me, right? Where I was kind of like, I don't know, I'm a little iffy. And I would send the video and I'd get that back. And I was really excited about them. One of the gals we have in the agency now, actually 2 that I really wasn't sure of based on their resumes, and they're doing really good. And that video was a difference.
Yeah, no, it's been awesome.
You'll get a
Nolan came in this morning. He had 35 and he had to
go through.
but I mean, you could do them quick,
It's
because
funny. You'll have
there's some
a perfect candidate, you think, and then they're like, the interview is they're driving, right? Like doing the interview while the kid's like unbuckled in the back. Like
I had one guy do one in a car. He was sitting parked at least. I had one lady who took her laptop and she set it on her bed next to her. So she was facing forward at her TV, clearly, because TV was on. Her laptop was next to her and you could see the pillows in the bed, and she's like kind of talking to the camera. Then she'd look forward, then like she'd look away. It was hilarious. And then I had ones where the communication was just the issue, where speaking clearly and like being able to understand that person was very difficult. And that, when you're in sales, you have to be able to clearly communicate. So
it's a letdown, but you're actually happy because you're like, well, that face.
Because you don't waste the time, right? Like at the end of the day, we have so many plates to keep in the air as an agency owner. You've got, customer service, you've got sales, marketing, you've got, obviously all your accounting, you've got employees and all the HR things that come with that. And, systems and underwriting changes. And it's just constant. There's something always coming at you, which is true of most business owners. But to spend time in an interview when in the first 5 minutes oh my gosh, this is not the right person.
right.
Well, replace that with being able to do that 5-minute interview, on a Sunday morning before, while you're having your coffee and all your kids are sleeping or whatever. And you can watch it and say, oh, not worth my time. And you can just keep moving on. Right. And it might sound brass or cold or whatever, but who is going to do well in your agency and who's not going to be a good fit. And it allows you to move forward faster. Efficiency. Yes.
Right.
So let's transition into what other automation things can you tell other agents that maybe want to get started, maybe from the simplest and maybe to the extreme?
Automation stuff. Man, that's such a broad topic. So it's been such a journey the last, 4 or 5 years learning all this stuff and being exposed to different software and InsurTech and even just generalized automation. So for example, when I started automating my Google reviews, right? We do a lot of work with our Google My Business page because it's free marketing and people call and they're very motivated. And I'm a captive agent and we still close 67% of the people that call us from Google. So I put a lot of focus on that.
Good,
Did
right?
you say 67.
67% of the people that call us from Google, we write them business because they are looking for an agency in our area and they're looking for good customer service. We have over 165, I think, reviews right now, the most of any farmer's agent in our area. And I've only been here for 4 years. There's one down the road from us who've been here for like, I don't know, 12 or 13. And we surpassed him just a couple months ago. I was pretty excited about that.
How about that?
But
How are you How are you getting?
Yeah. So our CRM, so Agency Zoom does have a collection system, so it helps us collect them. But honestly, I make sure my team asks. So customer service team, CSR, she is compensated on Google reviews and cross sells. That's where her compensation comes from. So she is motivated to ask all the time. Yeah.
How do you compensate her on those?
So after she hits oh geez, now I feel like I have to pull it up. I think it's 15. I think if she has to hit 15 in the month, it's a scale. I'm sorry, I have to think off the top of my head. It's something like if she hits 10 or 15, it's like $10 per Google review. If she hits, I think then if she hits 15, it goes to $15. If she hits 20, they're $20 each. That's what it is.
Nice.
10 minimum. And so it's whether it's a Google review or a cross sell that she creates, a lead opportunity for the producers, and it stacks up. So that's how she can make throughout the month. And she's very motivated to do it. And we celebrate them, we screenshot them and send them in the group chat. And she's very excited about it. And she does a great job. And we get some really good reviews. But if you're not asking for Google reviews and you're just expecting the solicitation, the automated solicitation system to catch all of them, you're missing a lot. You're probably missing about half of what you could get.
And I bet a lot of people are attracted because they see the number of reviews, the scores that you get. And if you really break it down for the ROI on that, I mean, there are agents that are paying $75 for a lead and they're closing like 7%. So you think about how much that's going to cost.
Yeah.
$700 in order to, get a sale is crazy.
Yeah. And in a market like mine, I'm in Idaho, we're a low premium state. The average home policy is like $800, $900 for the year. You go down to Texas where it's, $3,500. That's a huge difference. And so that's another thing I've learned just working, we've worked with over 400 agencies nationwide now, helping them with their automation. And, I think that this isn't talked about enough in the industry. People talk about, the agents who are putting up big numbers, which is great, right? They're doing lots of sales. They have big teams. And every time I do the math and I break down the number of team members they have and how much production, it's always about the same. The team members are all writing about 15 to 20,000 in premium each, even regardless of what market they're in. And it's having these large number of team members that allows them to put up these big numbers, and they scale their agencies, and that takes a lot of investment on the front end. But then when you talk about expenses, marketing, all of that, a lot of these agents aren't making much more profit than a small agent who's doing little to no marketing. The profit margin is what I started really paying attention to when I started working with independent agents. When I worked with captive agents, it was a very different discussion. But with independent agents, it's about their profit. That's what they're looking at. They run, in my experience at least, they run a business where a lot of other agents I've dealt with are just more producers who happen to own a business.
Right. Good point.
So let's talk a little bit about accelerated automation. When did you start it? And then what's your mission for your whole company? Like, what are you looking to do? 'Cause I know we know you're obsessed with automation. We know how much it's helped your agency. Now, what are you looking to do with other agents?
So I started, I had the CRM in my agency in 2019, and I stopped selling and stopped doing customer service and focused on my business and the operations. And in doing that, I became a beta tester with Agency Zoom because I'm full of opinions. It's just how God made me. And I like to share them. So I would say, hey, if I clicked here, it'd be a little easier if it went there, or this would be a cool feature. And so there's a lot of our ideas in Agency Zoom today. But I became a beta tester, started working with the founder. I have a great relationship with him. And about a year or so-ish after doing that, he asked me to help other agents because I was sharing it. I love to share best practices. Hey guys, this might help you in your agency. Go check it out. If it doesn't, that's fine. Or maybe it's not what you need. But I had a hard time finding resources as a new agent. And so I love being a source of information that people can look into and try to give, good unbiased reviews of those services. So I was sharing it. Agents started asking for help. Agency Zoom asked me to help them. I said no for several months and really just prayed about it, kept turning it down. And it just felt like it was the path that I was supposed to be headed down. So I finally said yes and took a chance and kind of started on one of my, he's an Allstate agent now. He was a farmer's agent at the time, but started on his system and kind of he was my practice agency. And it was just me. And it was a kind of a side hustle, if you will. That was the whole thought. I always wanted a housekeeper. I'm not domestic at all. I'm just not. And I wanted a housekeeper and my husband said no. So I was like, well, I'll make some, automation side hustle money and pay for my housekeeper. I'm not joking, you guys. This is literally what happened.
Awesome.
And then it got referred to another agent, and then a bunch of the President's Council agents at Farmers picked up on it after I did a few of those accounts, it's just been nonstop. Like, and I've still not spent any money on marketing. I am going to one conference that I did pay to sponsor. So I guess I've spent money on that, but that's it. We've been built totally through referrals and through the free information we give out through social media. My mission with the business, so we're up to 11 employees now. And that was in November. In November of 22, we had 2 employees, and today's October of 23, and we now have 11. So we're growing fast. We still need to hire more people. And ultimately, my mission with it is I just want to be a resource for business owners and make their jobs easier. I was stuck at my desk, 7 days a week. I would be there till 10, 11 o'clock at night, just in the grind, trying to be successful and working a lot harder than I needed to because I didn't know any of this stuff. And the amount of time that it saves for me is a motivation, because as a mom, my kids are now 9 and 11, and I have no idea where that went. And my daughter wants to spend less and less time with me as she gets closer to being a teenager.
Mhm.
And the time, money, really doesn't motivate me. I really don't care about that. I've always cared about the time because I try to learn from others. And I've never talked to somebody who says, I regret not making more money. That's always, they regret, I missed my kid's baseball game, or I wish I would have spent more time with my family or my wife, and that's why I'm divorced or whatever. And my goal has always been to have a happy family. I don't really care how much money we have as long as we're just taken care of and we have a happy family. So giving agents time back through automation, that's what I want to do.
Well, that's your gift. That's awesome.
You should see her Facebook group.
Yeah.
I mean, she's posting nonstop. Actually, Kevin and I laughed at one of your posts, not in the Facebook group, but when you said, I think it was Father's Day, and you said, "Thank you so much for always being," and then you listed all the things he needs to be. And the Facebook post was super long. A carpenter, a painter, this and that. And so you're pretty funny, Mariah.
Yeah.
You make us laugh.
Well, I actually only really get that from my husband. I'm very serious, and he's the funny, so he rubs off on me. We've been together for 18 years, so I've made him grow up, and he keeps me, a little lighthearted. So it's a good pairing.
I love hearing about businesses that always start from the need. Like you had the need to automate, and out of your own need, you figured, other people could use your help. And that's really awesome and if your business is growing organically like that with no marketing, I mean, as we know, insurance agencies, they just don't you have to market. You've got to do that. And that's incredible. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's been awesome. We've been so blessed, and I've been blessed at the team that's come to work for me. And it's been a ride, but it's why, I believe it's where we're supposed to go and where my energy should be focused on. And, and bringing other businesses along on the way, right? We just did a demo of a software called Leo that's still a startup, and it's solving a great need for people who are in the commercial, marketing for commercial insurance. And that's the thing, is all these businesses are popping up that are solving problems that agents have had forever. We've had the same problems forever. We just didn't have an easy, quick way to solve them. We all had an Excel spreadsheet or kind of our own secret formula, and we had to do a lot of extra work. And even agents who have been automating for a long time, it's been pieced together because there wasn't as robust of InsurTech as there is today. So it's an exciting time for insurance. It's frustrating for a lot of agents to learn it and take the time. But looking back now, I would just say, take it, one little piece at a time with your agency. If you've got a lot of leads, but you can't close business, you probably need a CRM. If you don't have any leads, you probably need to market. That's what you should invest in. If you have lots of leads and you've got a system and you have no one to sell the policies, and you probably need to recruit staff, right? Every agency has a different problem. They're at different phases of their agency growth, which has been really fun to learn.
That's great. Well, so where can they find you?
Acceleratedautomation.net. Also, if you are a Vertafore product user, I'm on Orange Partner with Vertafore. But you can also find me on Facebook, on social media. We have an Instagram and stuff too, but I'm just not as comfortable with that platform. We just hired a gal to do all of our social, so that'll get better soon. We also have a YouTube channel. So Accelerated Automation is also the YouTube channel. And we do just a lot of demos. We do a lot of free training. So we have a Facebook group called Insurance Automation. It's a free group. Anybody can be in that. We do giveaways and stuff in there too, but we answer questions. We've got other insurance like gurus, insurance automation gurus, if you will, that have, competing services to even mine that are in there to help you guys with questions that you have. Ultimately, there's not enough service providers like myself to help all the agents that want it. So I love bringing people together and resources that agents can use. So that's how you can reach me.
Cool.
And
It
then,
is everything. Sorry.
no, you're good. It's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
For it.
But I'm older, so I get to answer
You
first.
write my checks.
Seniority.
Now I forgot my question. No.
Okay, I'll go.
No. Okay, you go.
So this is just for farmers agents. If you did register for the Embrace conference, Mariah will be speaking and Kevin will be speaking at that. You're doing a breakout session, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a session on Agency Zoom. And then I'm also a sponsor. We chose to sponsor as well. So it's the first time I'll ever have a booth for accelerated automation, and we're bringing in our trainers. So Lily and Deirdre are our trainers. Something very unique to us is that our trainers that are teaching you how to use the system have always worked in insurance first. So Lily was an agency owner, Deirdre was customer service in an agency, and then now they're teaching automation software. So they'll be there to answer questions as well.
And it's so important too. I'll go one more time. Like that workshop, we got so much done with those agents actually being there, and we can go around the room and show them on the computer. So I am excited about that Embrace conference. For that, another reason is for the workshop, where I'm sure people are going to have their laptops out, right?
Yeah, well, so we're still waiting on some guidelines. I've done a few conferences now, which are interesting, and a few sessions and speaking and such, learning every time I go. This is the first time I will have guidelines around the class. We'll see how that goes, but we will give you absolutely as much as we possibly can. And I always provide free stuff. Like when we went to Accelerate, I did sessions there. I did a couple of sessions, and we gave away $750 worth of automation. So if you were an Agency Zoom user, we provided that for you for just attending the session, and you can start playing with those basics automations and getting going. So we'll have some free stuff too. Make it worth it.
Like it's
No, I'm
quite
just
Maybe we'll have to throw a recruiting pipeline into there, since you guys are going to be speaking about recruiting as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But it does sound like it's a very customized approach. It's not a one size fits all. You'll kind of tailor it to what they need. I'm sure you have some of the same tools though.
So when it comes to what we do in Agency Zoom, we don't do custom work. And the reason for this, and I should say we don't do it yet. We plan on launching a VIP service next year, but we are finishing the service center automation builds. We have 5 pipelines to finish. We are in the works on doing a Medicare pipeline partnership with a large Medicare agency. It's not my process, it's theirs. They've got it proven. I'm just building it. And then we have a website underway for training as well. But we'll have a VIP service next year. The reason we didn't start there, well, I tried to start there. I would start with agents and say, tell me about your process. How often do you call? How often do you text or email? How often do you recycle your leads? Where do your leads come from? What kind of marketing do you have going on?
Right.
And just, well, whatever you recommend. Whatever you recommend. I heard it over and over. I was shocked to find out that most insurance agents have zero sales process, zero follow-up process. They just kind of wing it, right? And most of them were doing business on a notepad on their desk. And so after so many discussions like that, we came up with a proven process that works very well that we build into Agency Zoom that gives people a starting point. From there, we train them on the system, top to bottom. They know everything about Agency Zoom, and then we will guide and assist them with any kind of customizations or edits they want to make. But it didn't work starting the other way, trying to have them start with the process. It didn't work going backwards.
Yeah. So much of sales. I mean, I remember, talking to so many agents, and it is just winging it. They're just like, what do you do with your leads? I mean, how's your recycle leads coming? Like, I don't know. Where's your tickler file, right?
Yeah.
And
they want the blueprint, like the 6-step approach. And you're like, well,
in insurance, I mean, when you can sell them again. When they say, like, my policy expires in October, like, I mean, when that renewal is coming. It's so obvious. And yet, we talked, till the blue in the face, but you got to have a system.
Yeah, and agents really spend a lot more money on marketing than they really need to. When you start recycling your leads, like I've had several agents who have been using the system. They were buying, several $1,000s in internet leads every month, and they'll get 6 months a year into the system, and they're like, I had to turn off my internet leads for a few months because we're getting so much from our age leads that we're actually now recycling. We've got thousands of leads that we're having to touch, and people are responding, and they'll have to pause, which what a great problem to have, right? I need to stop spending marketing money for a little while so we can catch up on the gold mine we already have in our agencies that we really haven't touched. I think people really underestimate how much they're overspending on marketing.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, should we do the rapid round now? Rapid
I
fire
was going to say,
question.
we got to get to Idaho and go camping
Yeah.
and go some of the
Bring
things
your mosquito spray. Oh man, I got eaten alive.
No, I thought you would say that you moved to Idaho because maybe your husband got a job there first, but you chose there. Was there anybody you knew there?
Nope.
Family or friends? You just like Idaho.
So my husband had been hunting in Idaho for about 4 years before we moved here. And there was some big changes in Washington state that just did not sit well with our moral compass, I guess you could say. So we found that this was a much better fit for our family.
Great. Cool.
I can't say that in any more PC of a way. So that's all I got for you.
I know you'll be sad if we don't do rapid fire before
Let's do it.
closing out.
All right,
And
we're gonna
Mariah will
close
be
it
good
out.
at this, I think.
Yeah.
Oh man,
We just
you
have
know
to-
what it is.
You got to be like, answer them as fast as you can. Okay.
Okay.
This one is, if you could be a superhero, who would you be?
That's so lame. Dr. Doolittle. I want to talk to animals. He's not even a superhero. I just want that superpower.
All right.
Does it
Yeah, sure.
count? No,
Do
keep
you
going.
have any? Do you have any animals at your house?
I have 2 horses, 2 guinea pigs, 3 dogs, and a cat.
Can totally see
Oh
that.
my
Yeah.
God.
And we would have more if it was up to me, but my husband said that's enough for now.
He cut you off at 8 animals.
Are horses a lot of work?
Yes, they're very expensive and a ton of work. But I absolutely love them. And I always told my husband, like, if he drew a line and said, it's the horse or me, I'd be like, I love you. We had a good run. It'd be the horse. Sorry, honey. It's our running joke. He would do the same thing if I made him give up hunting. So it's fair.
But it sounds like if your side hustle keeps growing, you could have as many horses as you'd like.
Actually, my end goal is to open a horse rescue and rehab facility. So we have already rescued and rehabbed several horses that would have otherwise been put down and discarded. But that is my ultimate goal, to do that for a living one day.
So curious.
Awesome.
This is supposed to be rapid fire, but it was such a bizarre
Sorry.
answer.
Right. She's such a great person.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna say like Wonder Woman or something. Superman. I don't know.
Mhm. All right.
Next one.
Here's some easy ones. Favorite color,
Purple.
favorite band,
Oh, I'm so not good at that stuff. I don't know.
okay, we'll pass.
Lauren Daigle. It's not a band. She's a singer.
Yeah,
course.
she's really good.
Christian singer.
Yes, she is. Favorite food.
Tacos. Mhm.
Oh, you guys have Taco Tuesday every Tuesday.
I would have tacos every day if I could, but I'm not allowed. So yes, Taco Tuesday for sure.
Favorite vacation destination.
Anywhere I can take my horses and go riding.
So
Oh
Idaho.
wow.
We've ridden them on the beach. Yeah, anywhere. We went. Yeah, anywhere I can take my horses.
Like you bring them, just pack them up, and take them with
Yeah,
you.
we took them camping with us. We were up riding up in the mountains, and yeah.
That is
We also brought our guinea pigs with us camping because we couldn't find anybody to feed them. That was the funniest thing I've ever done.
They live the
The
show.
guinea pigs.
yeah. I was gonna say favorite animal, but I think we probably know
Horses.
right?
Yeah. Come up with another one.
No, your turn.
I thought I gave you some of those. What's your future look like, Mariah? You and the family.
Well, that's not a rapid fire.
But you know
That's
what?
a
Let's
deep
get a
one.
heavy, deep one.
Well, my kids are starting a new school in September, so we're very excited about that. We're looking at buying a few acres so we can have more animals. And my husband is in the process of joining the business. He is actually just set up his desk right there today.
Corner.
So yeah, he's in the corner until he can have his own office for a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, so we'll be working together in our business and spending as much time as we can with our kids and have as many animals as we can.
Animals.
That's awesome. Well, man, it has been such a pleasure to get
Seriously.
to know you even more. And, you know, to know the inner Mariah is you're a beautiful person. And
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
and just helping out all those agents, and you can just see it in your heart that you just want to give and help them, you know, run their business better. And you've got a great mission there. So it's been awesome having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We're doing the 3
All right.
claps, or what are we doing?
We'll include your links, links below, right?
No, he does that. Doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll
We're-
work.
The links are somewhere on this page.
Okay.
That's funny.
It was awesome. Thanks. Thanks
Thank
so
you,
much.
Mariah. See you. Embrace.
Yes. All right. See you guys then. Thank you.